اكتشاف الأدوات القديمة توجد طبقات أقدم بكثير قد تحتوي على آثار لأولئك الذين لا نعرف عنهم شيئا حتى الآن. يستعد علماء الآثار لإطلاق بعثات جديدة. في عام 1974 صادف مزارعون صينيون تماثيل طينية غريبة أثناء حفرهم بئرا بالقرب من مدينة شيان، وهكذا تم اكتشاف أحد أعظم الاكتشافات الأثرية في القرن العشرين، جيش التيراكوتا الخاص بالإمبراطور تشين شي هوانغ. آلاف المحاربين الطينيين والخيول والعربات جميعها بالحجم الطبيعي، ولكل منها وجهه الفريد وتفاصيل ملابسه وسلاحه. وقد أنشئ هذا المدفن المذهل ليصاحب الإمبراطور في العالم الآخر، لكن المثير للاهتمام أن تابوت الإمبراطور نفسه لم يفتح حتى الآن. يعتقد أن بداخلها ضريحا ضخما يضم نماذج للقصور وأنهار زئبق وكنوزا لا تحصى. السلطات الصينية لا تتعجل الحفريات خوفا من تدمير القطع الأثرية. هناك أيضا مخاوف من أن مستوى الزئبق مرتفع جدا لدرجة أن الحفر قد يشكل خطرا على الصحة. وفي هذه الأثناء يواصل علماء الآثار اكتشاف تماثيل جديدة، بما في ذلك البهلوانات والموسيقيين والمسؤولين، وهذا يظهر مدى تعقيد ودقة التحضير للضريح. بس نعمل ليس كتابا مغلقا، بل هو بحث شيق لا نهاية له، حيث يمكن لكل صفحة جديدة أن تقلب كل شيء. وربما يكون الاكتشاف الأكثر إثارة لا يزال ينتظر لحظة.
مفيش حاجة تقضي على الجراثيم إلا حرارة الغسالة العالية.
حرارة غسالة أطباق بوش اللي بتوصل ل70 درجة مئوية مع تركيبة فينش القوية هتقضي على الدهون وتضمن لك 100% نظافة.
في بداية القرن العشرين بالقرب من جزيرة أنتيكيثيرا At the beginning of the 20th century, near the Greek island of Antikythera, divers searching for sponges stumbled upon a sunken ship. Among the wreckage, they discovered a heavily corroded lump of bronze and wood. At the time, no one knew that this modest artifact would revolutionize our understanding of ancient technology. It would later be called the Antikythera mechanism, and it remains one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries in history. When the artifact was cleaned, gears began to emerge from beneath the layer of rust. It turned out to be a device with more than 30 gears, capable of predicting astronomical positions, solar and lunar eclipses, the phases of the moon, and even the Olympic Games. All of this was contained in a small wooden box over 2,000 years old. Researchers were stunned. The mechanism resembled an analog computer, a level of technology humanity was not supposed to reach for another 1,500 years. The complexity of its design cast doubt on the linear model of technological development. Who created it? How did they achieve such precision? Many associate the artifact with Archimedes, although there is no direct evidence. Amazingly, no similar device has ever been found at any other archaeological site. It's as if someone simply forgot to pass this technology on. The most intriguing thing is that this isn't just a mysterious artifact, it's a direct slap in the face to our entire understanding of antiquity. How could they possess such engineering ingenuity? And if such a thing is possible, what other discoveries might overturn our established beliefs? And sometimes even sound itself can become an archaeological sensation. A sound hidden in skulls. When archaeologists explored the abandoned cities of the Maya civilization, they could never have imagined that one of the most unusual artifacts would make a sound. Literally, in Texcoco, Mexico, strange objects were found that resembled human skulls carved from stone and ceramics. They turned out to be whistles, but as soon as someone blew into them, those around felt uneasy. From inside these whistles came a frightening, wild, almost infernal howl, reminiscent of the screams of the dying. Scientists called it the whistle of death. Such a sound is difficult to reproduce even with modern technology. It is designed to affect the psyche, causing anxiety, fear, and almost panic. This is not a musical instrument. It is a sonic weapon. Research has shown that such artifacts were used during sacrificial rituals or in battle to exert psychological pressure on enemies. Imagine the silence of the jungle, and suddenly, from dozens of directions, comes the howling of the dead. Even a seasoned warrior could falter. The engineering of these whistles is astonishing. Inside, there is a complex system of channels that makes the sound especially eerie. Moreover, each one sounds different. It's possible they were also musical choirs of death. Modern acousticians still do not fully understand how exactly they achieved such effects. If sound alone can frighten, then what if the very shape of a structure makes your knees tremble? Pyramids that shouldn't exist. When we hear the word pyramid, Egypt immediately comes to mind. But what if someone told you that there are pyramids in China as well? And not just any pyramids, but ones so massive that they were hidden from the world for a long time? In the mid-20th century, American pilots flying over China accidentally photographed giant pyramids hidden among the hills. Some of them reach almost 100 feet in height. So why did no one know about them? The answer is both simple and strange. For many years, Chinese authorities did not allow scientists to go there. Only in recent decades have archaeologists gained access, and even then it's been limited. The pyramids are mostly covered with earth and vegetation, as if deliberately camouflaged. Many are convinced that the tombs of ancient emperors are hidden beneath them, but there is still no access to the central chambers. And now imagine, in Bosnia, right in Europe, a local archaeologist claimed to have discovered pyramid-shaped hills that even surpassed the Egyptian ones in their dimensions. The scientific community responded with ridicule, but when the terrain and soil were studied, it turned out that the structure was indeed geometrically precise, with clear edges, underground tunnels, and signs of ancient workmanship. So did humanity really build pyramids all over the world? Or is this the legacy of some forgotten civilization? For now, the answers remain buried beneath layers of earth and silence. But sometimes the answer isn't on the surface, but deep underground, and it can even kill. A tomb that opened a portal to hell. In the ancient city of Hierapolis, located in present-day Turkey, archaeologists stumbled upon a mysterious sanctuary known as the Plutonium. Ancient texts refer to this place as an entrance to the underworld, literally, to hell. It sounds like a myth. But this place really did exist. And even modern science couldn't explain everything right away. When scientists first entered the ruins, they discovered that birds and small animals were dying en masse near the entrance to the underground chamber. As soon as they got close, they would die in a matter of seconds. People, however, remained unharmed. All of this confirmed the ancient description. Priests would enter the temple, stand there, and come out alive, while anyone who approached without preparation would die. It turned out to be eerily simple. Beneath the temple lies a geological fault from which carbon dioxide escapes. It accumulates near the surface and is invisible to the eye. For animals, it is deadly. The priests, however, knew how to avoid the trap. They walked higher up, where the air was cleaner, but how could the ancients perceive such a subtle difference? How did they use this natural phenomenon for religious purposes? This temple became proof of how deeply the ancients could manipulate fears and the forces of nature. They literally opened the portal to hell and used it to maintain mystique and power. But if death can be part of architecture, sometimes the mystery lies in mass and weight.
أتقنت أساسيات التحليل الفني والمدرسة الكلاسيكية، محتاج تطور من نفسك وأساليب التداول الخاصة بيك، عايز تتقن مدرسة تانية علشان تأكد منطقة دخولك وتدخل من أقوى المناطق وبأقل انعكاس. دايما بتشوف نتائج مميزة لمدرسة الهارمونيك اللي بتعتبر من أقوى المدارس اللي بيعتمد عليها المضاربين. محتاج تتقنها في أقرب وقت وبشرح سلس ومبسط. يبقى أنت كده محتاج كورس الهارمونيك على متجر أوليكس فوركس. هو أفضل كورس هيساعدك في التعلم وإتقان الهارمونيك بطريقة احترافية وبشكل سريع، لأنك هتقدر تعرف من خلاله إزاي المدرسة ظهرت وأهم قوانينها وأشهر نماذجها، وإزاي بتقدر تعتمد النموذج وتتأكد إنه النموذج صحيح، مع تطبيق عملي على الشارت لاستخراج النماذج وكيفية التداول عليها ووضع الأهداف وأفضل مناطق الستوب. تقدر تشوف الكورس دلوقتي من خلال الموقع أو حمل التطبيق واستمتع بالمشاهدة والتعلم من أي مكان. مع أوليكس فوركس أنت في أمان.
The unmovable sarcophagus of Saqqara. In Egypt, Saqqara, beneath a layer of sand, lies something that still baffles scientists. 30 massive sarcophagi made from solid black granite. Each one weighs dozens of tons. They are so enormous and perfectly polished that even modern technology would struggle to create them. And here's the question: how, when, and why? The sarcophagi are located deep underground, in the catacombs of the Serapeum. Transporting them through the narrow tunnels seems impossible. Some theories suggest that the structures were made on site, but even that raises doubts. At such depth, without light, using primitive tools, there are just too many ifs. Besides their size, their finish is also astonishing. The inner surfaces are perfectly smooth, as if processed with industrial equipment. But these objects are over 2,000 years old. So, who was buried there? The most mysterious thing is that most of the sarcophagi are empty. No bodies, no treasures, only huge boxes, as if created not for storage but for concealment. Archaeologists still haven't reached a consensus. Some believe these were burials for the sacred Apis bulls. But then why such gigantic and costly craftsmanship? If the weight is impressive, sometimes the shape says more than the contents. A desert full of ice. In the very heart of the South American Nazca Desert, lines are hidden that cannot be seen from the ground. These giant geoglyphs animals, figures, abstract shapes here carved directly into the rocky surface. Some of them stretch for hundreds of feet. And now the main thing, all of this can truly be seen only from a bird's eye view. But the civilization that created them had no aviation whatsoever. Or did they? For decades, scientists have debated why create drawings that can be appreciated from the ground. There are many theories, from religious rituals to cosmic beacons for the gods. Some lines are perfectly aligned with the sun during the equinoxes, while others lead to water sources. But why draw a giant spider or a hummingbird the size of a city block? Amazingly, the lines are so precise that they create an effect of optical clarity even when viewed from above. The Nazca people used simple tools and ropes to measure out the proportions. But why go to so much effort for images that no living person could ever fully see? Recent discoveries show that more than 1,000 previously unknown figures are hidden in the desert. Some of them are only just beginning to be deciphered, and it seems that the meaning of these messages will remain out of reach for a long time. But while some were drawing on the ground, others were building right on the ocean floor, a city underwater. Off the coast of India, near the city of Dwarka, divers discovered something incredible: traces of an underwater city, stone streets, walls, anchors, and staircases. All of this lies at a depth of more than 100 feet. For centuries, ancient Indian texts have told of the city of Dwarka, built by the god Krishna. Many consider it a myth until science got involved. Research showed that the structures are indeed man-made and incredibly ancient. Some dating suggests they are 9,000 years old. This calls the accepted chronology of civilizations into question. Before the Sumerians, before the Egyptians, there were already cities underwater. Archaeologists have discovered numerous artifacts, including pottery and copper tools. This means the site was inhabited, developed, and then suddenly submerged, most likely due to a sharp rise in ocean levels. But the scale is astonishing. This is not just a village, it's a full-fledged city. Today, Dwarka is partially closed to unrestricted study. Indian authorities are conducting research, but are restricting access to the full data. Perhaps this is because acknowledging ancient Dwarka would change the entire history of the region. But if someone was able to build underwater, then someone else decided to speak to future generations through mysterious tablets, the Georgia Guidestones. On a hill in the American state of Georgia, at the end of the 20th century, monolithic stone slabs suddenly appeared, bearing messages in 8 languages including Hebrew, Chinese, Hindi, and Russian engraved with 10 commandments for a new humanity. No one knows who installed them. The sponsor used a pseudonym. His identity remains undisclosed to this day. The structure was instantly dubbed the American Stonehenge. It is aligned with the cardinal directions, has astronomical functions, and essentially serves as a modern megalith. But the main thing is its content. The first rule is to maintain the Earth's population at 500 million people. The remaining points concern control over reproduction, a single language, and a world court. Many saw this as a hint at global governance, almost a dystopia. Conspiracies, secret organizations, Freemasons, all of this instantly became associated with the mysterious tablets. The authorities dismissed it, saying it was just an art object. But then why bury a time capsule, make precise astronomical alignments, and spend millions? In 2022, the tablets were destroyed by unknown individuals. Someone decided that they carried a dangerous message. But the mystery itself only deepened. So who was really behind their creation? And yet, some artifacts reach us not through stone, but through coal. A mechanism in a bronze cube. In the 19th century, workers in an Austrian mine found a bronze object inside a lump of coal, resembling a miniature cube with polished faces and grooves. It was tightly encased in a layered coal seam, the age of which is estimated to be hundreds of millions of years old. Such an age contradicts not only the history of humanity, but the very possibility of any intelligent beings existing at that time. The artifact was examined by scientists, including metallurgists. It turned out to be an alloy with nickel impurities, clearly showing signs of artificial manufacture. The mechanical processing is obvious, straight edges, symmetry. But how could it have ended up in coal if metal only appeared tens of thousands of years ago? Some suggested that it was the result of a modern object ending up in the mine. But analysis showed that the coal around the object was undisturbed and the item itself was embedded in the rock. In other words, the find is indeed ancient. Later, the cube was lost, and today only its photographs and descriptions remain. This story did not provide a clear answer. It left a question. Is it possible that civilizations existed before us and simply disappeared, leaving behind rare, inexplicable fragments? But sometimes, it is not an artifact that causes confusion, but a person themselves. Skulls that do not fit into the course of evolution. In the deserts of Peru, archaeologists have discovered dozens of skulls whose shapes deviate from all known anatomical norms. Elongated, extended, almost alien in appearance. Theories about aliens and ancient visitors immediately emerged, but the truth turned out to be no less mysterious. Some of the skulls were intentionally deformed. This was done from childhood, tightly binding infants' heads. Such a practice existed in various cultures from African to indigenous American. It symbolized high status, belonging to the nobility. But here's the problem. Some of the Peruvian skulls have anatomical features that cannot be produced artificially in increased volume, additional sutures, and unnatural placement of the eye sockets. Research has shown that this could be the result of some local mutation or the manifestation of an entirely different branch of humanity. Theories about forgotten tribes, underground peoples, and ancient biological experiments continue to circulate. One thing is clear: some skulls do not fit into classical evolution. While some argue, scientists continue to search for answers in bones that could rewrite history. But there are discoveries that are hard to wrap your head around, even under a microscope.
بريك بخلطة القمح والذرة، قرمشة قوية وطعم مفيش زي. بريك الحق اتبسط.
Spirals from the depths. In the 1990s, during geological work in the Urals, Russian researchers discovered something astonishing. In layers of earth, at depths corresponding to ages from 100,000 to 300,000 years, they found tiny metal spirals so small that they are difficult to see with the naked eye. Their diameter ranges from a few microns to 1 millimeter. What are they made of? Of tungsten and molybdenum materials that humanity only learned to work with in the last century. The shape of these spirals is perfect. They resemble components of modern microcircuits or antennas. Their construction is so precise that some scientists consider them not a product of nature, but of technology. But how can the presence of such objects be explained in layers that are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years old? Official science is in no hurry to acknowledge their artificial origin. There are theories that these are the result of natural crystallization, some kind of geological accident, but the shapes are just too perfect. It's just too difficult to fit this into the laws of nature. Some researchers believe these spirals may be possible remnants of a long-lost civilization, or traces of an intervention we cannot comprehend. And while the world debates, tiny artifacts lie in museums, capable of turning everything upside down. And sometimes what amazes us about antiquity is not its size, but its function. Battery is from Babylon. In the mid-1930s, near Baghdad, archaeologists discovered a strange artifacta clay vessel containing a copper cylinder, and inside it, an iron rod. All of this was filled with remnants of an acidic solution. And here's the question: why did the ancient inhabitants of Mesopotamia need this chemical setup? Researchers quickly came to a shocking conclusion: the construction resembled a primitive galvanic battery. Like modern batteries, it could generate an electric current, just simple citric acid or wine vinegar, and the device would start working. But why? What did they use the electricity for? One hypothesis is that it was a power source for electroplating gold. Supporting this theory are the ornaments found in the same regions, coated with a thin layer of gold that would be very difficult to apply by hand. Some researchers remain skeptical. Perhaps it was simply a vessel for storing scrolls, or for rituals. But then why are there metals inside that fit so precisely? Why is there an acidic residue? There are more questions than answers. Perhaps, if such batteries had been found in large numbers, we would already be talking about ancient electricity as commonplace. But for now, we are only glimpsing the outlines of a great technological past. And where there is technology, there is calculation. Sometimes, it is carved in stone for centuries to come. a calendar made of stone. In the mountains of South Africa, in a region called Mpumalanga, archaeologists discovered strange round stones and structures that turned out to make up one of the oldest astronomical calendars in history. Named Adam's Calendar, this complex is estimated to be over 70,000 years old, and it still works to this day. The megaliths are arranged in a solar circle, precisely tracking the days of solstices and equinoxes. And what is especially astonishing, the orientation of the stones and their shadows not only indicate the changing of the seasons, but also predict eclipses. Who could have built such a complex at a time when officially people were only just transitioning from foraging to a settled way of life? No traces of settlements have been found nearby, nor any artifacts that would explain the level of knowledge involved. Only stones. But stones so precise that modern astronomers had to recalculate them by hand. Local legends speak of celestial beings who descended from the sky. Scientists tend to believe in a forgotten tribe of astronomers. But there is still not a single clear explanation. After all, sometimes even a language can be lost forever. A letter from the other side. One of the most mysterious artifacts of Crete is the Phaistos disc. Discovered at the beginning of the 20th century, it is covered with a spiral inscription made up of strange symbols. There are more than 200 of them in total. They do not resemble any known alphabet. The disc is made of fiat clay, dating back to around the 2nd millennium BC, and since its discovery, no one, in either linguists nor cryptographers, has been able to decipher its message. All we know is that the symbols were imprinted using stamps like a typewriter. And this suggests mass production. Of what exactly? Theories abound. Some believe it is a prayer or a hymn. Others are convinced it's a table or a spell. And some even suggest it's an instruction manual. But none of these interpretations have been confirmed. The Phaistos disc has become a kind of icon among undeciphered ancient messages. We look at it and do not understand. It is like a letter thrown across the ages, but written in a language that no longer exists. Perhaps we will never know what its creators wanted to say, but some things, forgotten for millennia, still find their way out. The labyrinth beneath Egypt. Even Herodotus mentioned a great underground labyrinth near Lake Moeris. He wrote that he saw it with his own eyes and could not convey its scale. Thousands of rooms, halls, corridors. The Greeks were more amazed by it than by the pyramids. But over time, this place faded into legend, until modern ground-penetrating radars appeared. Recently, not far from the pyramids in Hawara, Egyptian and European researchers discovered something that closely resembles that very labyrinth. Beneath layers of sand and stone lies a gigantic underground complex. Geoscanning revealed a multi-level structure, a network of halls, passages, and even water channels. But all of this is off-limits. The Egyptian authorities have acknowledged the existence of the structure but have restricted excavations. Why? Some believe that there may be a repository of ancient texts or artifacts there that could call the established chronology into question. There are no clear answers. But the very fact of the existence of an underground megastructure the size of a city block already changes our perception of ancient Egypt. And here, it is worth placing a careful yet significant full stop. Archaeology is not just about the past, it is a mirror that reflects our present. Every discovery is not just an artifact, but a challenge. A challenge to our complacency, to our sense of uniqueness, to our confidence that we are the pinnacle of evolution. It turns out, the ancients knew, sensed, and were capable of much more than we would like to admit.
دلوقتي ممكن يحولك فلوس من بره على فودافون كاش. شحطتك مش ببلاش، مفيش أهون من فودافون كاش.
At the dawn of hunting season, in one of the swampy corners of Florida, where the tropics seem to merge with untamed wilderness, local rangers received a call that would be etched in their memory for a long time. One of the fishermen noticed something in the water so enormous that at first he mistook it for an overturned boat. Only when the boat slowly began to move and with a rustle emerged from the murky water did it become clear. It was a crocodile, but not just a large alligator, of which Florida has plenty. This was a monster. Its body measured over 15 feet long, and its weight approached a ton. Its enormous snout, studded with teeth the size of a human finger and eyes gleaming with a predatory shine, inspired genuine terror. It turned out to be a male American alligator over 60 years old. He had lived in the local swamps for decades, feeding on anything he could find, from fish to raccoons and, according to rumors, even a couple of pet dogs. Scientists discovered that its metabolism had slowed to a minimum, allowing it to accumulate mass and remain unnoticed. This monster, lurking in the murky water, became the largest ever recorded in this region. Journalists quickly picked up the story, dubbed it the Florida Monster, and tried to organize an exhibition. But biologists insisted the animal had to be returned to the wild. It was tagged with a GPS tracker and released far from human settlements, into a place where the swampy lands could accommodate such a titan. But if a crocodile can leave a person stunned just by its appearance, then the next creature turns the very concept of size into something entirely different. A whale giant with the weight of a world. In the depths of the world's oceans lives a creature that is literally bigger than a bus, heavier than a tank, and louder than a jet plane. This is the blue whale, the most massive animal ever to inhabit our planet. Even dinosaurs cannot compare to its size. An adult male can reach 100 feet in length and weigh up to 200,000 pounds. That's the equivalent of 15 elephants stacked on top of each other. But its greatness is not just in its weight. The heart of a blue whale is about the size of a small car, and its massive tongue weighs almost as much as an adult bison. The main vein of this ocean giant is so wide that a child could easily swim through it. And despite its gigantic form, it primarily feeds on krill, tiny shrimp-like crustaceans that the whale carefully filters from the water using thousands of delicate baleen plates. The blue whale is also a record holder for loudness. Its call can be heard underwater for hundreds of miles. It's not just a sound, it's a vibration that penetrates the depths of the water like a warning to other giants. He rules here. But even such a creature once nearly disappeared. In the 20th century, commercial whaling brought the magnificent blue whale to the very brink of extinction. Today, their numbers are slowly recovering, and watching these gentle giants in the wild is truly one of the most mesmerizing sights that nature has to offer. Imagine an 80-foot-long shadow appearing beneath your boat, and then, suddenly, a gigantic silhouette surfaces, shooting a powerful laser. But if this marine titan next creature intrigues with how it manages to be so long while remaining almost invisible. A snake as long as a bus. Deep in the Amazon jungle, where tropical darkness conceals secrets born of millennia of evolution, lurks one of the planet's most fearsome inhabitants, the giant anaconda. Its size is neither an exaggeration nor a legend. The longest officially documented specimen reached nearly 30 feet in length. That's as long as a standard school bus. And all of it is pure muscle, covered in greenish-black scales, perfect for camouflage in the waters of tropical rivers. The anaconda is an ambush predator. It doesn't chase its prey, it waits. Under the cover of foliage or in murky water like a living trap. And when the victim approaches, be it a capybara or even a caiman, it bursts from its hiding place with astonishing speed. But what is most striking is the way it kills. The anaconda is not venomous, it suffocates its prey. It coils itself around its target's body, tightening its grip each time the prey exhales until there is complete silence. After that comes swallowing. Yes, this is not a myth. A large anaconda is capable of swallowing prey wider than itself. Thanks to the unique flexibility of its skull and jaws, it literally stretches itself. And if the anaconda is impressive for its length, the next creature is frightening because you might not notice it until it's right on your face. A spider the size of a face. Spiders rarely inspire affection, but if you're afraid of them at their usual size, just imagine what it's like to encounter a spider as big as a human face. The Goliath bird-eater, which lives in the jungles of South America, is the absolute king of spiders. Its leg span can exceed 1 foot. That's not a mistake. 1 foot! Its legs are covered in bristles like thin roots, curved and highly sensitive to the slightest movement in the air. Unlike its smaller relatives, this spider does not spin webs. It hunts like a predator. It attacks, knocks its prey down, and sinks its enormous fangs into it. Its bite is so powerful that it easily pierces the chitin of insects and even the skin of small mammals. On the Goliath's menu are toads, mice, and even small birds. That's where its name comes from. When defending itself, it makes a strange hissing sound, rubs its legs together, and can fling microscopic irritating hairs from its abdomen. These hairs cause intense burning on the skin and even temporary blindness if they get into the eyes. And although its bite is not fatal to humans, the experience is sure to be unforgettable. Researchers who have encountered the Goliath in the wild recall how it would run past their tents with the distinctive sound of clicking legs as if someone had thrown branches onto dry leaves. Creatures of this scale don't just frighten you, they seem to blur the line between a horror movie and reality. And if a spider can evoke a truly primal fear, then the next creature is a real monster from a puddle. It looks funny until it opens its mouth. A frog straight out of a nightmare. At first glance, it's just a bulgy-eyed frog. But as soon as the African horned frog opens its mouth, it becomes clear that you're looking at one of the most ruthless predators among amphibians. Unlike its harmless relatives, it doesn't catch insects with its tongue. It hunts from ambush, burying itself in the ground and waiting, then as soon as prey approaches, it strikes in an instant. But what's truly frightening is that the frog is capable of swallowing prey as large as itself. Mice, snakes, other frogs, and even birds. Its jaws are so strong that it can hold onto a human finger, and that causes real pain. In South Africa, there have been recorded cases where this frog attacked snakes and emerged victorious from the fight, holding the victim's tail in its jaws. Despite its strange appearance, it has an extremely aggressive temperament and can even lunge at a person if it feels threatened. In terrariums, it is called a living vacuum cleaner. It eats everything that moves. In the wild, almost nothing bothers it. Even birds try to keep their distance. The risk just isn't worth it. Inside this little barrel beats the heart of a true predator. But the next creature is neither an amphibian nor a reptile. This is a marine titan with legs resembling tentacles and the ability to paralyze with just its appearance. A giant crab from the ocean floor. Deep in the waters of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Japan hides a creature that seems like an alien from another world. This is the Japanese spider crab, a true living artifact from the abyssal depths. Its limb span can reach up to 12 feet. That's more than the height of an average adult man with arms outstretched. At the same time, the crab's body itself is relatively compact, but its extremely long limbs create a truly intimidating impression. Its claws are like garden shears, and its movements are slow, almost mechanical. It seems to creep along, never losing sight of its target. These crabs are not predators, they are scavengers, but their appearance often frightens divers, especially in dark waters, where only a flashlight reveals this spider-like monster out of the gloom. What is especially astonishing is that Japanese spider crabs can live up to 100 years. Some researchers believe that their resistance to pressure and cold water allows their bodies to keep growing throughout their lives. There are even unconfirmed reports of crabs with a leg span of 15 feet. Despite their intimidating appearance, Japanese spider crabs are almost peaceful by nature, but just one glimpse of their silhouette in the water can make your heart skip a beat. Especially if it's not just one, but an entire group slowly moving along the seafloor like an army of skeletal soldiers. But what if the next ocean dweller is just as silent, yet far more dangerous with its touch than with claws? The giant invisible jellyfish. You might not even notice it until it's too late. A little south of the Australian coast lives the giant cyanea, also known as the lion's mane jellyfish. This isn't just a jellyfish, it's an underwater weapon of mass destruction. Its tentacles can span over 120 feet, which is longer than a blue whale. But length isn't everything. These tentacles are covered in stinging cells, capable of paralyzing small fish, or even causing a severe allergic reaction in humans. One careless encounter, and you'll feel hundreds of needles piercing your skin all at once. And the jellyfish's body itself is often almost transparent, making it nearly invisible in the water. Rising to the surface on cloudy days, it hunts anything that happens to come near. Scientists often compare it to a living ghost, majestic yet deadly. One particularly large specimen that was discovered washed up on the shore in Nova Scotia was so enormous that locals at first even mistook it for the remains of a sea monster. Its movements are graceful, almost hypnotic. It seems to glide through the water, leaving a trail of poisonous tentacles behind. This jellyfish is an example of how beauty can be deadly. But if the underwater world frightens with its silence and transparent menace, then the next chapter is a return to land where a giant greets you, grunting and wagging its tail. A piglet the size of a bear. When a hunter in Georgia spotted something black, massive, and fast in the forest, he thought it was a bear. But what emerged from the bushes turned out to be a pig. And not an ordinary one. Standing before him was Hogzilla, one of the largest domestic boars ever recorded. This monster weighed over 1,000 pounds. That's more than the combined weight of 2 adult men. He was the result of crossbreeding wild boars and domestic pigs raised under special conditions. It had tusks nearly a foot long, skin several inches thick, and such a powerful chest that even a bullet could get lodged in its tissue. This beast couldn't be contained in a regular pen. He would break wooden gates as if they were made of paper. When he was moved to a farmer's enclosure, they had to build fortifications as if for buffalo. Its behavior was aggressive and its appetite insatiable. He could eat a sack of corn in one sitting. The story of Hogzilla went viral. A photo of the enormous pig standing next to a hunter instantly spread across the internet, sparking thousands of discussions. Some said it was fake, others claimed it was the result of hormones. But experts confirmed it was all real. Such a thing is possible if you combine the genes of a wild predator with ideal fattening conditions. If that boar could frighten with its sheer size, the next hero is terrifying because of its genetic origin. It is half lion, half tiger. A head in the jaws of a lion. Imagine an animal that is stronger than a tiger, bigger than a lion, and looks as if it came straight out of a science fiction movie. This is a liger, a hybrid born from a lion father and a tigress mother. Unlike its parents, it's not just larger, it's a giant. The most famous liger in history is Hercules, who lives in a sanctuary in South Carolina. When standing on his hind legs, he is over 11 feet tall and weighs nearly 900 pounds. With a single swipe of his paw, he can knock down a horse. His face is bigger than a basketball, and his mouth is like a portal to another world. Interestingly, ligers are not found in the wild. They only appear in captivity, since the habitats of tigers and lions do not overlap. But when such a hybrid does appear, nature makes an exception. These animals possess traits from both parents. From the tiger, they inherit powerful paws and musculature. From the lion, the mane and certain behaviors. Ligers have an astonishing rate of growth. In the first 2 years, they double the size of a typical lion. Scientists still do not fully understand why their bodies seem to have no limits. It is possible that this is due to the growth-inhibiting genes from each parent neutralizing each other. This animal is like a mythical creature, only real, and on top of that, social, capable of learning and forming attachments. And now we come to the conclusion. These giants are not legends, not exaggerations, but true records of nature. They prove that our planet is still full of surprises, sometimes frightening, sometimes astonishing, but always real. In one of the districts of Jiangsu province, a group of engineers and workers began what seemed like a routine task, clearing the bed of a small river for a future transportation interchange. The machinery was operating as usual until the excavator suddenly hit a dense concrete slab that extended deep into the riverbed. The initial assumption was that it was an old drainage system, but the more they dug, the more it became clear that they had uncovered something much larger in scale. Beneath the layer of silt and clay lay a meticulously engineered concrete structure that stretched for hundreds of feet. There was no publicity, no signs, and no public access. It turned out to be a fragment of an underwater tunnel connecting two districts across the river, the existence of which local residents had no idea about. China doesn't just build quickly, it builds secretly, and sometimes even the builders themselves don't know how deep the system they're working on actually goes. There are dozens of such cases across the country. Even in places where everything seems explored and built up, engineering marvels can be hidden underground, wonders found nowhere else in the world. China is not limited to just the surface. It develops every dimension, upward, outward, and downward. And if it needs to build a transportation hub underwater, it does so. And sometimes, to bring such an idea to life, you have to go even further. For example, completely remove from the map an object that had existed for thousands of years. Guizhou province is known for its karst landscapes and green hills. But one day, a perfectly flat platform suddenly appeared where one of the mountains used to be. The locals were stunned. The massif that had stood here for decades had vanished. The reason was the construction of a new transportation corridor, where every extra bend in the route would mean a loss of time, fuel, and money. Chinese engineers decided it was easier to cut through the mountain than to build a tunnel or a viaduct. Meticulous work went on for months. First, layers of soil were removed, then the bedrock. Everything that was extracted was processed. The rock fragments were used to build roads, embankments, and concrete slabs. Millions of cubic feet of earth were moved, the mountain was gone, and in its place appeared a new logistics route. This project became a symbol of China's engineering determination, a nation that does not shy away from the scale of a challenge. For the sake of an efficient transportation network, it is ready to move the earth, literally. But what is truly astonishing is not just that China is capable of moving mountains, but that it knows how to look beneath them, and beneath rivers as well. After all, if you can erase a mountain, why not drill through the bed of one of Asia's most powerful rivers? The Yangtze River is not just a waterway, it is a turbulent, powerful current several miles wide, with unpredictable flows and sediment deposits that change the riverbed every season. But even that did not stop China from the idea of building a transportation tunnel beneath it. In the mid-2000s, work began under Wuhan that would later be featured in engineering textbooks. First, a geological survey of more than 200 boreholes was conducted. Then the most difficult part began. The tunneling. At a depth of several hundred feet beneath the riverbed, under immense pressure, drilling machines advanced forward foot by foot. Each section of the future tunnel was prefabricated, delivered to the site, and submerged to the riverbed at a precisely calculated time. The ventilation, lighting, drainage, and emergency exit systems were all designed to withstand maximum loads. Beneath layers of water and silt, trains sped through the tunnel at over 200 miles per hour, and no one standing on the shore suspected that the 1,000th train was passing right beneath their feet. But this technology found another use as well, not just for transportation. It became the foundation for the creation of entire systems, hidden, multi-level, and completely autonomous. And one day, these systems stopped being just infrastructure. They became part of the cities. In the centers of Guangzhou, Shanghai, Beijing, and other megacities, if you look just a little deeper, a second level of the city is revealed. Down there is not just the subway, there are streets, parking lots, shops, warehouses, substations, and even offices. All of this was built from scratch specifically to relieve surface-level congestion and to ensure the city's resilience to extreme pressures. Guangzhou is considered one of the leaders in underground urbanism. In the Tianhe district, you can walk underground through corridors from the subway station to a dozen shopping malls without ever coming up to the surface. Everything is interconnected: logistics, power supply, and drainage. Where an ordinary person sees only a sidewalk, there are entire transportation and utility arteries running beneath it. The engineering solutions include dedicated ventilation systems, backup power, and water supply. This means that such underground complexes can operate autonomously in case of emergencies or blockades. They are designed not just as part of the city, but as its backup copy. But even such systems have a vulnerability: water. China has solved this problem in a way that no one else has before, and their answer is a mechanism capable of handling water disasters on the scale of a megacity. Shenzhen is a city that in just 3 decades has grown from a fishing village into a financial center while also being a risk zone: seasonal typhoons, torrential rains, and rising sea levels. The answer to this threat is hidden beneath the streets in the form of a powerful pumping station built with the latest technology. It can be compared to an underground ocean, only controlled. When heavy rains begin, dozens of sensors throughout the city instantly transmit data to the control system. Pumps are activated, which pump water into reservoirs hidden deep underground. These reservoirs can hold millions of gallons while remaining invisible to city residents. After the storm, the water is filtered and returned to safe bodies of water. This way, the city stays dry even when torrents pour from the sky. This project is not just protection, it's an active infrastructure that outpaces the elements. And yet, water doesn't always come from above. Sometimes, China's engineering marvels reach such heights that it's frightening even to look down. In the southwest of China, in the provinces of Sichuan and Yunnan, the landscape resembles scenes from science fiction movies. Mountains, canyons, valleys, all of it is traversed by incredible bridges suspended over chasms thousands of feet high. One of them, the Beipanjiang Bridge, is situated at such an altitude that from a car cabin, when you look down, you can't see the bottom of the gorge, only clouds. These bridges are not just beautiful structures, they are vital for connecting remote regions. Without them, the journey between 2 points could take 10 hours. With them, it takes just 30 minutes. China is betting not on detours but on a straight line. If an abyss stands in the way, they literally build a bridge over it. The construction of each of these bridges is a separate engineering feat. The cables holding up the spans reach hundreds of feet in length, and the anchoring systems go deep into the rock. The builders work at altitudes where the air becomes thin and any mistake can cost a life. All of this is done to create the logistics of the future. And yet, when the road meets not an abyss but a mountain range, China chooses a different path. It goes straight through. The Tibetan Plateau is one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. The air here is a third thinner than on the plains. Temperatures can drop below zero even in summer, and yet one of the highest railway lines in the world passes through these lands. This is not just a railway, it is a complex of engineering solutions that made it possible to connect Lhasa with the rest of China. The main challenges: permafrost, lack of oxygen, and